so, you know, I need 2,000 lindens to buy a copy of SL inventory. Oh, that's hard. You know, it's like try buying a $5 copy of Windsor. It's like, it happened once. My boss took out $5 and gave it to the guy and said, just go buy it. As a stockholder, it's cheaper. Just go buy it. Don't put a purchase order. It's just not worth it. So logistically, I mean, you can only buy a whole sim from Linden Labs. Okay? You can rent parcels, but that's hard. Okay? Because of this whole charge scheme. Okay? And I'll get to a legal reason. Okay, just jump to that. The legal reason why that's hard is because IBM can deal with big entities. Okay? When we deal with little entities, it's hard for us because we have to legally protect ourselves. We are a big target. Okay? If we buy, I mean, and it's one of the things that, you know, just makes me cry is, you know, when as the IBM builds, it looked like crap. Okay? A lot of our internal builds look like crap. Because like when we built the Lotus Sphere parcel, we had the CTO of Lotus, the Lotus division, building the fountain. Okay? This is not good use of money. But we couldn't walk across the street to, you know, Fountains R Us with 8,000 different Second Life fountains and buy one for 40 cents. Okay? Because there's the expense thing. But again, you know, that wasn't a big incident here. But the big problem was because if you sold us something that you did not have the IP to sell us, they're not going to sue the seller, they're going to sue us. Okay? And IBM has, it's a big target. They have to protect themselves from that, which makes it, again, there could be, it's perfectly, doing business in the world, there are barriers, but those are not insurmountable. But that is kind of the big one that we really, really like. Legal really likes us dealing with very well-established people. Okay? Now we could deal with the electronic sheep when we built the Rational Center. Okay, because that's at this level here. Buying a fountain to put in our, you know, hotel foyer in the Lotus Sphere mock-up, it's just hard. I mean, you know, Ahuva, I guess I'll call you that here, did manage to broker something where we got one vendor use of her entire inventory to populate some of our internal stuff with, and that, like, go through a bunch of hoops for that. So, Second Life is kind of hard to consume because of these various things like that. Overhead overwhelms micro. Yeah, it's just, and these are some of the reasons, some of the things that we learned. Okay, these are not insurmountable things, but they do raise the barrier on certain things. And you know, I had, you know, various things I was talking about last night at the dinner about plans for giving legal tools to more easily consume these sort of things. But you know, right now we haven't. First thing, you have to find something you know you're going to make a return on investment, and that was hard, and we still haven't solved that. Now the V business grid. Ironically, I'm an administrator on this, and I had to go and look this up this morning because I forgot about it. It's an open sim grid that's out there, and the idea is people who are engaging in virtual world business can kind of set up there. You know, I guess it's kind of the reaction grid of, you know, for IBM's business front end like that. You know, so if you got a business and you're interested in business there, you know, talk to me. Or Peter Finn, Nick Noonan, and role is the guy who's fronting all of that. I helped at the beginning. I don't really know where it's gone since then. I haven't heard a lot about it, so I'm suspecting it's just kind of there. But it is another one of our efforts that's public and outside the firewall that we'd love to see take off. So that's our public invasion. Now I'm going to look at, trying to do quickly, not great. Some of the products we sell. You know, and this is just to say, it's like, you know, to some degree, when IBM moves somewhere, they legitimize the market, and we're aware of that because, you know, suddenly the competitors are like, oh wait, people are taking this seriously. The 3D data center is an outreach of big companies have lots of computers. Okay, they tend to like to put them together in one place because they're easier to maintain. They're easier to keep cool because you know all this infrastructure. Big computers generate lots of heat. You need the same instructor to keep them all cool and stuff like that. But you have to monitor them. Now there's still some reason to have geographically located centers, and for decades there have been monitoring equipment that watches all of these things. The virtual data center is kind of a 3D version of that. Instead of having these little abstract screens that, you know, little schematic diagrams of what's where and how things are going on, is that you can walk up to the server and say, how you doing? And you get all those sort of, it's a different way of conveying the same information. Okay, that, you know, has had some appeal. I don't know how well it's selling, but it's still there. The team is still funded. I still have stuff there. So, you know, and it's based on OpenSim because we can tinker with it and do what we want there. I won't dwell on this too much because I'm short on time. Same Time 3D, or the proper name is Virtual Collaboration for Lotus Same Time. is a meeting space, and you plug it into our same time, which is our sort of business version of instant messaging, because not everybody wants all their messages going out over the public network for people to spy on. So, business version of this, so you can keep it secret. And it plugs in, and you get all these your typical meeting space like you've seen in Second Life, and a couple other things we have there for this. I quite like this. It's a brainstorming board. If you've ever been in a brainstorm meeting and you're post-its and sticking them up on the wall, it's kind of that sort of thing, which actually works really well in a virtual world setting. You have the usual flip charts, presentation things, but visual voting, like a bunch of people in the room, you can see people nodding. In Second Life, you have to you have yes and no, and people wander around and stand on how they're voting, and you get this sort of organic impression of how things are going. So that's actually kind of cool. And it's full import and export. Whatever you do in there, you can suck back out and make a presentation out of it or a spreadsheet or something like that. And that's really nifty. Okay, God, I wish I had that in Second Life. It is based on OpenSim because we can do that sort of thing. We can add these little extras that the business will want. And you see a lot of our products are based on OpenSim because the way I kind of look at it is if you want to do something that's massively multiplayer, you want Second Life. It's hardened, it's industry ready, it's enterprise ready for that sort of thing. If you want a good 3D SDK to develop a product with, OpenSim is good for that because you can't do that in Second Life because it's their code. So OpenSim, you can go in there and you tinker with it. It doesn't have the stability, okay, but a brainstorming session of 8 people, it's fine, okay. And if you need something, you can put it in. And that's just kind of how you see a breakdown between the two. That's tends to be how it cleaves, but that's a personal view. Research has done tons of stuff, okay? Because again, like I said, some of them have been doing it for decades. But just very quickly, Bluegrass is a front end to Jazz, which you've probably never heard of. It's a software management tool. It has a cool graph. It's kind of nifty. Olympus is the idea of, how 3D do you have to be to get some sort of immersion? So the idea is you have your chat, or somebody's giving a presentation like that, where different avatars can walk across the bottom and put their hand up. Like big 3D avatars like we have in Second Life, and they look kind of like cartoon characters. But it's that sort of interaction. You have a question, you can pop up here and say, hey. Virtual team building games. The whole idea of they for years they've used management go off and they jump across crocodiles in the creek, or one of these games where they shoot each other with paintball and oh, what a team building experience. Well, it's cheaper in 3D. Nobody gets hurt. Rehearsal Studio, I know nothing about that, but it's out there. Power Up 3D is kind of interesting. It was it's a game which they then ported into 3D, and the concept of it's for people. It's a game that you can play, and it's to mix it up. What's cool about it is that if you're visually impaired, they give you audio cues. You can actually play the game without being able to see. And it gets interesting when you mix people who can see and people who can't see. Now they're both in the virtual world, okay? It's not obvious you're blind in the virtual world, but you get these kind of echolocation type kind of thing. But it's interesting. It didn't compel me because I can see, but it was a very interesting sort of experiment. And, apparently kids like that a lot. Because it's a video game that blind kids can play. So it's a win. Cross-world temporal portation is something that my colleague, who is unfortunately speaking at the same time as me, has been active in. To be able to hop from grid to grid like that. We all want this. But IBM is, again, kind of funded his time to look into that, and it's something that then goes back to the community. A lot of OpenSim development. I mean, went from just a couple of IBM programmers to half the OpenSim contributions were coming out of IBM. I don't know what's happened now. There's been some changes there. I haven't caught up with that. And a point that was made to me is the Academy of Technology. This is an internal group in IBM for, it's kind of like, our collegiate branch type thing like that. But they've been having meetings in World. And that, somebody pointed out to me, is kind of like a research project because, we're sort of fronting the whole research. Let me come a little bit more to that in the next bit, which is kind of like what we do behind the firewall. And again, nothing that's top secret here. And you're not missing much there. I don't think there's anything wow exciting that I can't tell you. I can just hint at that. Buy stuff. We have an OpenSim grid inside of IBM. Anybody can put their server up there and attach it to it, and it's this whole thing. It's got welcome centers. It's got Uwe and I built a shopping mall. Right now, there's between 32 and 64 servers, depending on who's up and who's online. It's like 800 registered users. It's all there. not being terribly widely used. It was all the rage for a while, but it just didn't get a lot of traction. But it's there, and the potential is there, and if it can be galvanized, there's something that we can move and get more stuff going on it. But that's kind of an interesting thing. They got a brilliant graphic. Who designed the graphics? Mine all suck. But I was like, oh, I got to put that in the presentation. But that's kind of interesting. Nebraska is the big thing. Okay, it's this Second Life enterprise. This is the one thing that IBM has been a real advantage to IBM. Okay, we were all tinkering with it before, like the Academy of Technology, and so I bring that back into things again. Decided to have a conference on virtual worlds. And I was like, oh, hey, that's kind of interesting. Oh, we'll have it in a virtual world. That kind of makes sense. I think it's a little recursive, but they do this sort of thing like that. So we all got there and we built plants. That's where we got all of the greenery to decorate this with, and trying to make it look reasonable, compelling. And we had a bit of fun. I built a racetrack. But we had it there and we had the conference. And, people kind of liked the conference and you thought it suited the subject matter. Then the economy tanked. And there was another Academy of Technology conference in 6 weeks. And they were like, we just can't spend the money in this climate. So they're like, ugh. And then somebody said, we have this facility we just built to do this conference. Could we use that? And we're like, why, yes we do. I guess they checked things. I said, ah. So everybody had been asked to help on the first one. Someone's like, we got to host a real conference here. It's like, blah, but we held it. And it wasn't as good as being face-to-face. It wasn't the boondoggle that it could have been. In report, I'm not in the Academy of Technology. It's a little exclusive thing in IBM. But I helped out. I got to see some of this stuff. But the people afterwards were like, I hate things in virtual reality about